Chapter 6. The Death of Joachim. Mary knelt in the stillness of the temple, her small frame illuminated by the faint glow of candlelight. Her face, usually serene, now reflected a profound ecstasy, as though her soul had transcended the earthly realm to commune with the divine. Her lips moved silently, her words unheard by mortal ears, but carried on the breath of angels to the throne of God. Beautiful art thou in thy thoughts and deeds, my beloved and chosen one. The voice of God resonated within her, a sound both gentle and infinite. I accept thy desire to serve and sacrifice for the greatest glory, and now comes the time for such. For it is by my divine ordainment that thy father Yohakim must pass from this mortal, eternal, and immortal life. Death will happen shortly, and he will pass in peace. He will be placed among the saints in limbo to await the redemption of the human race. The child's face shifted, her expression softening from sadness to a gentle smile. Though tears streamed down her cheeks, she made no move to wipe them away, allowing them to fall freely. As they touched the ground, they sparkled and transformed into the glistening wings of her angel companions, who lifted her gently and carried her to the bedside of her father Yohakim. In Yohakim's bedroom, where the air was heavy with the quiet solemnity of impending death, Mary stood silently, her presence a beacon of light in the dim room. She watched and listened as the angel Gabriel appeared, his form radiant, and he spoke to her father. "Most devoted servant of God," Gabriel began, his voice filled with reverence, "the Most High and Powerful Lord wishes thee to know now that Mary, thy daughter, is chosen and ordained by the Almighty as the one in whom the divine Word shall vest himself. She is to be the mother of the Messiah and the blessed among women, the most exalted among all creatures, and only inferior to God himself. It is she who has sent us in order to assist you in this your hour of death. She is a most faithful and powerful intercessor before the Almighty." As Gabriel spoke, Anne, Joachim's beloved spouse, stood at the head of the bed. By divine disposition, she heard and understood every word. Her heart swelled with a mixture of sorrow and awe, her eyes fixed on her husband's face. As the last word was spoken, Yohakim took his final breath, his soul lifting from his body in a radiant burst of light. A choir of angels surrounded him, escorting his soul to limbo, where he would await the redemption of the human race. Anne's gaze shifted to her daughter, who now moved toward her with a grace that seemed almost otherworldly. Mary gently touched her mother's face, her touch a silent comfort, before turning and leaving the room. The weight of the moment lingered in the air. Time passed, and Mary, now 9 years old, was seen praying fervently in the temple. Her face, usually radiant with divine light, now reflected a deep sorrow. For weeks she had knelt in prayer, her heart heavy with a sense of loss. God had stopped revealing himself to her. The absence of his presence was a pain she could scarcely bear. In the quiet solitude of the temple, Mary lay prostrate on the cold stone floor, her tiny form trembling with emotion. Her voice, though soft, carried the weight of her anguish. "Dearest Father," she whispered, her words trembling with sorrow, "what have I done to offend thee? Why dost thou keep thyself hidden from me, as well my holy companions? If this is but the depth of suffering I must endure for thee, I do it and beg for more, for it is the deepest of pain and sorrow that I could ever imagine." Her tears fell silently, each one a testament to her unwavering devotion. Though the heavens seemed silent, her faith remained unshaken, her love for the Almighty burning brightly even in the darkness. She would endure this trial, as she had endured all others, with humility and grace, trusting His divine wisdom. Mary knelt in the quiet solitude of her room, her small frame trembling with emotion. Her voice, though soft, carried the weight of her anguish as she once again addressed the celestial beings who had once been her constant companions. "Celestial Princess, ambassadors of the great and highest King, and most faithful friends of my soul," she began, her words trembling with sorrow, "why have you also left me? Please return, please. However, I do not wonder, my lords, at your displeasure, if through my thankless action I have merited to fall into the disgrace of you and my Creator. Lights of the heavens, enlighten me in my ignorance in this matter, and if I have been at fault, correct me, and obtain again the pardon of my Lord. Pity on my sorrow. Tell me where my beloved is. Tell me where he has hidden himself, since I know that he never withdraws his face and beauty from your sight." Her tears fell silently, each one a testament to her unwavering devotion. Yet the heavens remained silent, and the room was filled, aching emptiness, and the weight of her sorrow lingering in the air. Chapter 7. The Depths of Hell. In the suffocating depths of hell, where the air itself writhed with the acrid stench of sulfur and despair, Lucifer prowled the jagged, smoldering pathways. The ground beneath his feet hissed and cracked, molten river of damnation, carving serpentine trails through the charred earth. His every step echoed with a haunting primordial rhythm, a symphony of defiance and anguish forged over eons. Wings, once radiant, now hung like tattered shadows, their edges flickering with embers that refused to die. His eyes, twin infernos of unrelenting fire, burned with a gaze that could sear through the veil of worlds. They were locked on Mary, a fragile mortal soul whose torment blazed like a beacon in the abyss. Her suffering pulsed with a raw, almost divine intensity, a paradox that both repelled him and ensnared his curiosity. It was a light in the darkness, a thorn in his side. He could not look away. Though he beheld her torment, a spectacle of grief and of resilience against the oppressive backdrop of his infernal realm, there lay a profound mystery in the depth of her being. Mary's anguish was not the desperate cry of a defeated spirit. It was the lament of a soul vast in its purity, an enigma that eluded his maleficent grasp. The scars of her hardship, quivering flame of hope, stubbornly defied the darkness around her, yet the intricate layers of her inner light remained impervious to his probing malice. In that defiant glimmer, he recognized something dangerously reminiscent of a lost paradise purity that clashed with his very nature. His mind churned with a turbulent mixture of fury and a reluctant fascination. The infernal corridors echoed with the sound of his measured, seething steps, as if the very walls were privy to the tempest of his conflicted thoughts. His voice, a sonorous baritone laced with malice and simmering frustration, boomed across the fiery abyss. He growled, his tone a venomous mixture of contempt and incredulity. Who is this wretched young creature whose pitiful words cause more confusion in my being than I care to have? Perhaps she might benefit from visitors of another kind. These words, the air itself seemed to tremble, charged with the promise of new horrors. The phrase, visitors of another kind, was not a mere throwaway threat. It was the prelude to schemes that had been fermenting in the depths of his infernal mind. The idea of dispatching agents, demons forged from his own essence of despair, filled him with dark anticipation. These fiends would be sent forth as emissaries of ruin, destined to weave further threads into the tapestry of Mary's suffering. Around him, the landscape of hell shifted in response to his incantations. Rivers of molten torment flowed beneath bridges of charred bone, and the very air was redolent with acrid stench of eternal damnation. Shadows danced across the walls that seemed to breathe with anguish of innumerable lost souls. In this grotesque symphony, Lucifer's internal conflict was laid bare. Here he was, the architect of misery, encountering a spirit so luminous that even the stifling gloom of hell could not extinguish its radiance for a moment. As the echoes of his words faded into the crackling flames, Lucifer paused in his relentless pacing. A subtle, almost imperceptible flicker of uncertainty crossed his eyes, a brief acknowledgement that Mary's unyielding purity posed a riddle he was not entirely prepared to solve. Could it be that hidden within her agony was not just despair, but also a tiny, unyielding flicker of hope? And if that spark of hope existed, what chaos could it stir up in a place like hell, where despair and suffering were the only rules he allowed? The thought gnawed at him, unsettling the very order he had built. In that charged silence, the infernal air grew heavier, as if even the denizens of hell held their breath. The dark irony was palpable. The one who had orchestrated countless tragedies now found himself wrestling with the unexpected force of a human soul, a force that threatened to unravel the very order he had so ruthlessly imposed. The plan to send his visitors of another kind was not merely about inflicting further pain. It was a calculated gambit to dissect the mystery of Mary's purity, to shatter the illusion that such light could exist in the depth of eternal night. Thus, with a final dismissive snarl that resonated like the tolling of a death knell, Lucifer resumed his relentless pacing, his mind alight with schemes as convoluted and dangerous as the labyrinth corridors of hell itself. The stage was set, and the next act in this infernal drama was about unfolding between ancient malevolence and the stubborn, unyielding flame of human purity that promised to defy even the darkest of realms. In Mary's small room, she lay in a fitful sleep. Around her, dark shadows swirled, taking the form of demons that attempted to invade her mind and soul. Yet, as they drew near, they were repelled by an invisible force, vanishing as quickly as they had appeared. Lucifer, watching from afar, was not pleased. He commanded, his voice a low, menacing growl. "Enter then into the hearts of her companions. Let greed and envy tarnish the others who work so hard at being servants of the Lord. How will this lowly creature suffer those inflictions?" The next morning, the dining room of the temple was filled with whispers as Mary entered. The other young girls, their hearts darkened by the influence of the demons, shunned her as she greeted them. They had grown accustomed to her doing their chores, and now they made her tasks even harder. One girl dropped her plate on the floor, then quickly returned to her seat, leaving Mary to clean up the mess. Sister Anne entered the room, her expression stern. "One must be more careful with what our Lord provides as nourishment," Anne said, her tone reproachful. Mary bowed her head humbly. "Yes, sister, forgive my lack of agility and my eagerness for food." One of the students spoke up, her voice sharp with accusation. "She grabbed the plate from my hands, causing it to fall. I tried to give her my own, but she refused, saying it was rotten because I had already eaten from it." Another girl chimed in, and her tone was equally harsh. "Yes, and it's not the first time, sister, and the same is true for the scripture books we are to share. Mary takes them and hides them, I'm sure. That is why I do not know my lessons. I have not been able to study because of her." Mary, her face filled with humility, responded gently, "My friends and mistress, you are right, no doubt, that I am the least and most imperfect among you. However, you, my sisters, being better informed, must pardon my faults and teach me in my ignorance. For I love you and revere you as a servant and only wish to obey you in all things. Command me then, and tell me what you desire of me." But her words did not soften the hearts of her companions. Instead, Lucifer's influence continued to prod them into causing her more harm, even resorting to physical acts of violence. When Mary was scrubbing the floors, they would push her face down and hold her face in the bucket of water. They locked her in a darkened room of the temple, their cruelty hidden from the priests and mistresses, but not from God. On one such occasion, the girls gathered in a room and began hurling insults and physical abuse at Mary. The commotion drew the attention of the priests and mistresses, who came rushing to the scene. Simeon, his voice filled with anger, demanded, "What is the cause of this outrageous display against the very teachings of the Lord? Who is to blame for this? Answer me." One of the students pointed an accusing finger at Mary. "It is Mary of Nazareth who brought this on. She creates much strife and anger in us all, and when we confront her, she irritates and provokes us even more. When we allow her own way, she becomes overbearing. She makes fun of us by throwing herself prostrate on the floor at our feet with pretend humility. Then afterwards she quarrels anew and throws all of us into uproar. If she does not leave the temple, it will be impossible to keep peace among us." The priest and mistress took Mary into their office and reprimanded her harshly. And her voice filled with disappointment said, "What could make you do such a thing, Mary? Why do you bring such discord to a holy place? If this continues, we will have to banish you from the temple." Mary stood silently accepting all that was said without attempting to state her innocence. When she was excused from the chambers, she went immediately to her companions and knelt at their feet, weeping openly. They thought her tears were from her punishment and allowed her humiliation with good will. "Forgive me for causing you to act in such a manner," Mary said, her voice trembling with sincerity. "For it was very much at my doings, and I beg you to allow me to continue to serve you so that I may serve my Lord." In her room, kneeling in prayer, "Dearest Father, I have offended all, and my greatest offense is that I am blind to what actions of mine caused this. I pray for my sisters, to whom I have caused such grief. I ask that I be shown how to not offend them any more."
Chapter 8, The Death of Anne. In the quiet quarters of Simeon and Anne, as they slept, a divine presence visited them each in dreams. God's voice, gentle yet unmistakable, whispered to them, revealing the truth of the turmoil that had unfolded within the temple. When morning light crept into the ancient halls, the two conferred in hushed tones, their hearts heavy with the weight of divine revelation. They summoned Mary once more, their expressions softened by the knowledge they now carried. Simeon addressed her with calm resolve, his voice steady and kind. "It has been told to us that none of what has been occurring is your fault. We will put an end to this so that you might continue in your desire to learn more of our Lord and how you might be of service to him." Mary's eyes shone with devoted humility as she replied, her voice trembling with sincerity. "I beseech thee, my superiors, to allow me to serve my sisters and bear the discomfort of their reproach. I benefit greatly from their instruction, but I will not disobey you, and if you so command, I will heed your word." The day passed into evening, and within the confines of her modest room, Mary's long-absent celestial companions reappeared. Their silent presence filled the space, their light casting a gentle glow that seemed to chase away the shadows of her sorrow. She conversed with them in fervent prayer, her heart pouring out its longing and devotion. After a period of deep concealment, the Lord revealed himself, once more manifesting before her with a tender radiance that set her heart aglow with long-awaited warmth. His presence was a balm to her soul, a reminder that he had never truly left her. Time moved inexorably through the temple, and before long Mary was 10 years old. One day, she received heart-rending news directly from God. Her mother, Anne, was nearing the end of her earthly life. At God's command, angels were dispatched to bring Mary back to her place of birth. In a scene steeped in sorrow and sacred duty, Mary sat at her mother's bedside, holding her hand gently as her final breath was drawn. With tender care, she closed her mother's eyes, pressed a soft kiss upon her cheek and then upon her fingertips. As the angels escorted Anne's soul to limbo, Mary returned to the temple, a living testament to both loss and the enduring promise of divine mercy.